Hour number 2 already on today's KBS, right here on your number one network, where we give you protection from deception and where silence is consent. Truth Frequency Radio, TFRlive.com. And I've got Nanogirl with me. Before the break, we were talking about everyone moving to Texas. Tesla, Rogan, Oracle. And it was only a few years ago, and I know you listeners out there, the ones that have been here a while, you'll remember this. Remember when all the stories were circulating about, first we heard all of the people were buying up property, land, underground facilities, and building bunkers in New Zealand? Remember all of that? That was strange at the time. And also, as Nano pointed out just before we came back there was also a lot of people heading down to Antarctica. But now it seems to be Texas. We were talking during the break as well, Nano, and you brought up something I totally forgot about. But Jeff Bezos there, another one, Texas. But he's got an interesting gig going on in Texas, hasn't he? Him and his clock. Can you remember much about it?
It only moves a second or a minute every 10,000 years?
It's weird. It's
and it's a huge clock. I mean, it's like what you figure 25, 30 feet. It's huge.
Yeah, here we go. Some call it the Millennium Clock. Others call it the Clock of the Long Now. Jeff Bezos calls it the 10,000 year clock. Well done, Nano. And since he's spent an estimated $42 million to build it inside a mountain that he owns, the name is a real contender. And it was first proposed by Danny Hills. Wow.
Now look what's under there. A 10,000 year clock is a waste of time. Now hold on just a second. Do you ever imagine that Mr. Bezos is doing something for a waste of time?
No.
Notice the word time. I don't think so. And again, we're always throwing around time. And as we see more and more of this sort of tech stuff come out, like the UFO stuff, and, supposedly there was an article recently, right, about the military or the CIA was managing time or something. There was some article about that. But I don't think this guy is wasting. Look at that. It looks like your buddies. What do you call that?
Looks like CERN.
CERN. Yeah. Yep.
And that looks like a Stargate.
There's got to be There's got to be a reason that it is set up exactly why it is set up.
And in a mountain, Nano. Kevin, Nacy, we have Mary DeCina, we've got Luna and Donnie. They all come on and they've all got knowledge about mountains and them being Stargate-like locations.
Right.
But
the fact that this only, moves 1 minute in every 10,000 years or something?
I know. What's going on there? Come on,
There's got to be something. The guy doesn't waste his time. I know. Look at that.
Very, I'm going to post this over in the TFR chat room in a moment. TalkStream Live listeners, head on over to tfrlive.com/chat. You'll be able to see this. But this actual diagram here, I mean, this looks like, on the left, I'm not getting all conspiratorial, but you can't get away from the fact it looks Masonic. You got the two pillars, and then you got the thing in the middle of it, And
it looks very D-Wave, should I say those words?
Oh, yes, the little mechanism here looks like the chandelier that drops down, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I mean, you can't get away from it. We're just observing. We're not saying it means anything, but it's, I don't know. It could be indicative of something, Nanogirl. Look at it from the top.
Look at it.
Like
It says
an
dial. Check this out. Dial 5-digit year, horizon, sun, moon, and stars. That's in a clock.
Yeah.
Normal clock dial, binary mechanical computer. Wow.
You know what it's like?
Equation of time.
It's like that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you remember the Antikythera device? There it is there. Antikythera mechanism. If I show you images of this.
Okay.
This is something they found from
wow,
the ancient
that
world.
Looks very familiar.
I mean, it's not. I'm gonna be very, very honest. I mean, it's not exactly anything,
It's
but
close.
there's something mechanical-ish about it that just rings a
Right.
bell. You
Yep.
know,
Yes.
I don't know. It's weird.
Isn't
It's
that
weird, right?
interesting?
And that's meant to be like
Now, what's and who is that from? I mean, who are the people?
Hold on, I'll just get the rough date for it.
Okay.
Because this is one of those ones that they're not too sure. It says the instrument is believed to have been designed and constructed by Greek scientists
Oh,
and has been
wow.
variously dated to about 87 BC or earlier at 150 to 100 BC or even earlier at 205 BC or to within a generation but before the time of Christ anyway. Very small though, 34 centimeters by 18 by 9. And I mean, back then, Nanogirl were building things that they think looked like this. I mean, that's
Exactly.
pretty amazing, right?
Well, I think we're finding out that, you know, excuse me, I've been listening to a lot of different people talk about the fact that obviously our history was a lie, that we weren't as stupid as they said that we were. We weren't as ignorant, that there was a lot of things we understood, that we weren't dumb back even 100 years ago, and that they've changed history. And so now, what if Bezos got a hold of something like this and there was a reason that they had created it in the first place
Well,
and he found out?
this is something I've sat and spoke to Bill and Travis about off air,
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like secret about it. I mean, when we talk about some of the more historical Mandela effects, like the Black Tom Island one that happened in 1916, and it's meant to be one of the major factors that got us into World War One.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, you know, and you would expect if something was that significant, there would have been films made about it over the years. People would know. They would know the name Black Tom Island. So could it be that now, because we're living in this technologically advanced age where we've got all this information, maybe these changes, like you're saying, maybe like 100 years back, 75 years back,
Hmm.
maybe history's always getting wiped clean or changed, but in the past, because people couldn't really talk about it across the world, they couldn't notice it in real time, then they
Right.
just passed on and the next generation came in and they just accepted whatever was there as fact, you know? It's only
Right.
now that we can see it all, we're starting to catch on to it. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. Look what's happening here, right? We're changing the names of schools. Washington D.C. George Washington is no longer a good name for your school. That's happening in California. Throwing the statues in the water, getting rid of all our history,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now our history is literally locked down.
I mean, you think about the years building up to this as well, Nano.
Yes,
We've
that's why I'm
we've
saying.
flattened the Middle East. We changed the landscape literally.
Remember, I'm going to tell you, I thought the most horrendously scary scene when Shrub went in there and did the Iraq thing, right? And he tore down that city.
Yeah.
He tore the statues. It was an abominable act on his part. It was one of the worst things
It was
he
like
ever did.
to me, and I mean, I hadn't joined the army at that point, but I'll tell you
Right.
that was significant in me joining the army. I won't deny
Very
it.
significant.
Yeah, but that for me was like an army had just been told that they'd been let off the leash. Go, you're like an invading force, proper going in there, tear it down. You know.
But I think those of us who were awake realized what it was. It was to demoralize the people and to demolish their history,
Yep. Well,
which is what they're
of
doing
course they
here
went
now.
but they went to the museums first to make
Yes, they
sure they
did.
got all the good stuff before they let the looters in. You know.
Well, the rumor is there was a bunch of stuff in there they wanted, and I don't doubt that rumor
Oh,
was
same here.
probably very true.
Same here. But the bad guys in World War II, they were kicking about over there looking for stuff.
Yep.
Highly feasible, and we don't know the full story, right? Yeah, we know the cover story for why they went in there, but there was
Yeah.
also Saddam was getting a bit kind of leery. He was getting a bit egotistic, bit narcissistic, and I know
Right.
there's people said that he thought he was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar and things, but
Yeah.
What else did he maybe have going on? What had maybe his archaeological teams found? You know,
That's right.
you don't know,
That's
Nano.
right.
There's these artifacts out there that they say bring armies great power, where they literally can't be defeated because they've got God with them. It
Right.
sounds like something out of Indiana Jones, but this is the real world, and that's why you find armies going looking for this stuff. It sounds weird, but it's what happens.
Well, what if that's all part of the UFO stuff? You know, what if that's really part of the truth that gets revealed this year? You know, Cliff has talked about that. He's put out 4 or 5 YouTubes in the last month, certainly in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And he brings up the UFO subject a lot because he feels like that's finally going to get revealed. There's going to be pieces of it that get revealed, and that we're going to realize we have been influenced by them.
Okay, so let me
And
ask you, what do you think, Nano? What's your feeling? Does that tie in? Would that fit the event that you spoke about at the start of the show? Some kind of big revelations on that front? Would that be the event that you feel? And I don't want to pin you down because I know you're not pinned down on it, but
no, I'm not pinned on anything. I think that, I guess I'm hoping
yeah,
that
something nice like that.
I'm hoping something like that happens. I'm hoping that the puppet show gets exposed. I mean, we've come to a point of absurdity. I get that's my whole point about today. Today, we've just come to a point of absurdity. It's just absurd what's going on in DC and all of the stupid crap. It's affecting us. It's powerful in the fact that it can affect us, but it's absurd. It's just absurd. And so many of us are awake and we're looking at it going, I don't think so. And so now I feel like certain things may get exposed, and what Cliff has said, it's not because they want to, it's because they don't have a choice, you know. And I would like to think that because of the amount of us that are awake, things are not going to fly the way they think they're going to fly. So on one level, we have the things that we talked about where, you know, you're moving things like Oracle, you're moving to the middle of the country. My question is, what's going to happen to California and New York? What's going to happen to Washington and Oregon? What are you doing? What are your plans for that besides burning it out? You know, so you've got all that sort of New World Order insanity. But below all that, you have a lot of us out here that are going, we ain't buying this crap. And we want the truth, and we want to hear it, and we're ready, and we're willing to make sure that we get it. And I still have never seen so many people say, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, you know, in a way that's very powerful. So is the UFO thing out there? I think so. And look at Bezos. I can't imagine Bezos. Let's focus on him for just a second. Why would he build something that costs that much money, that has that kind of technology, that beats once every 10,000 years, and that takes one motion in every 10,000 years? Why? What is his point in that? He must know something we don't know. You know, he must have information. Obviously, he has information we don't know. He's one of the richest guys on the planet at this point. So there must, what if this is tied into CERN? What if part of CERN, you know, we've always wondered,
well, you know,
is this time travel? Is this time?
How about I would actually take CERN off the table, and since this has been an absolutely amazing segment of radio, right? Let's go even more woo.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, at one point they were building a super collider complex,
right,
in Texas.
Yes, they had. Actually, that was one of where the first colliders got built.
And then they stopped. They stopped once they had done all the tunnels and all
they did.
Yeah, they just stopped. So there's nothing to see here.
Right.
So
and
there's
didn't the Bushes
here,
have
folks,
something to do with this too? Didn't the Bushes have some kind of? They had their filthy little grubby little hands on this one.
Well, I think one
yes.
of them was governor at the time. But then again, hasn't there always been near enough a Bush governor of Texas? Usually.
Something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, I mean that location there. I know people have speculated about that in the past, and
Hmm.
Anthony Patch would say, "Yep, it was definitely built." But as far as he was concerned, there was he was more looking at, there's plenty of places in America where they've got powerful enough accelerators to rival what they're doing at CERN.
Stanford University is one of them. Palo
Brookhaven
Alto.
Labs, it should get special mention because they actually
Right.
achieved the strangelet power before CERN
Yes.
did. They proved it.
Yes.
They gave the proof of concept. So big shout out to them. And then of course you could go and look at what happened in 2001 in the work of somebody like Judy Wood, and she talks about the storm that was off of New York. And it just so happens that Brookhaven was just in the right place for that. You could make a movie or a book about that, Nano. I don't know how real it is, but these technologies are everywhere, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
No, they really are. And supposedly the one in Texas, they built it. It was not a big one. And then they didn't do anything about it. And I think it was like, isn't it in the 50s or 60s they built it? It was
It
pretty
was a
long ago.
long time ago.
Right.
I'll
So,
actually dig it up here because it was a Texas Super
yeah,
Collider.
right, exactly. And I don't remember exactly what they did. And it was almost, but they spend a heck of a lot of money on it. And I thought they had a lot of countries that were in on it as well, besides the USA. But then they went over to the Switzerland one. But again, you've got one in
Here we go.
Stanford. You got an accelerator.
It says here, it says intersecting storage rings for CERN, but this is I don't know if this is the right one
I don't know.
because this says
I'm trying to
there's a
remember
particle
where.
accelerator complex under construction in the vicinity of Waxahachie, Texas.
Yeah.
Its planned ring circumference was 87 kilometers, with
Right.
with an energy of 20 tera electron volts. You only need 10 tera electron volts for strangelets, so that's twice the power.
Right.
And that was per proton, and was set to be the world's largest and most energetic.
Right, and it was cost nearly $2 billion was spent on the project, was canceled in 1993 due to budget problems.
And look at that, they'd already got 22 kilometers, 14 miles of the tunnel bored. So I mean, there's 14 or 14 miles of underground tunnel that's doing
Exactly.
what? Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly.
yeah.
And I think Shrub, okay, didn't he was a president in the early 2000s, so would he have been the governor then, or was it Shrub was the governor of Texas? His brother Jeb was the governor of Florida.
There we go. A Japanese-U.S. trade commission vomiting incident.
That's Papa Bush when he
Let's
barked.
see, there's more mentions of Bush. So, President Bill Clinton's initial lack of support for a project begun during the administration of Richard's predecessors. That just says Bush.
Yep.
Well, if it's Texas and back in the 80s, the Bushes wouldn't have been far away from it, eh?
No, they wouldn't have.
No.
Nope. That's true.
Definitely not.
Nope.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there you go, yeah. So, I mean, there was that facility there. There's the ones we don't know about, Nano. They could have a linear one under Cheyenne. They could have one at Denver Airport. We
That's
don't know.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think, maybe this could be... Oh. Now, did we go right? No, I thought we'd hit the break. There happens that good a conversation.
Oh, we just right by the break.
We didn't. But, do you think it's just because of the TV shows that I and others put such an emphasis on particle colliders when it comes to time travel, opening dimensions? Do you think that's more us putting that onto the equipment? Or do you think that's really, that's feasibly what we're looking at there?
That's a really good question. If we go back to the Matrix, and then what is this, and are we living in a simulation, and that all that kind of stuff. I ask that question a lot, but things are so weird right now out there, right, in our lives, and all all that really happened is they shut us down, okay? And that changed all of reality for all of us. So it makes sense to me that I still think they have some kind of technology out there that can do things with the timeline. I really do. I believe that with all my heart. I don't have any proof, but I believe that.
I do. I
And
can't
then
explain it.
you have the quantum businessman
Yeah.
who actually has real results affecting his company for Mandela effects. And now he has stepped into the spiritual arena looking at how this has affected everything.
Did you see the
And what
elephants with breasts?
the elephants with breasts?
It's like one of the latest Mandela effects that is coming up in one of his videos.
Oh no, I for months after his last convention, I watched a show called something Midnight Timeline Mandela Effect. She had a show every week. We have animals that are eating meat that
Yeah.
didn't eat meat
Yeah.
like
Giraffes.
a couple years ago.
Giraffes have turned carnivorous. Yeah.
Yes, bunny rabbits.
Yeah.
It's like we've become the planet Earth has become far more carnivorous in the animals, and it's like they didn't do that before. And then the shapes of animals are all changing. Once upon a timeline, I think it's called, something like that.
I know it's like a phrase, 100th monkey. And some people
Yes.
say it's a thing, some people say it's just made up, right? But,
Right.
we were looking at stories, Freaky Friday, the day before with Scott as well, where
Yeah.
back in 2017, they were starting to hybridize monkey brains with the human intelligence gene.
Yes.
Like, if there's a collective consciousness out there, Nano, and you start to tweak one and give it evolutionary jumps, again, the uneducated Glaswegian here, way out on a limb on Speculation Island. But, when you start to see animals so rapidly changing in their
Right.
environments and things like that, I mean, are we looking at, like, ripple effects from our own tinkerings with the CRISPR, with playing about with genetics? We don't understand consciousness in our own minds, let alone, other animals, other species, things like that. And here we are, turning up the electromagnetic frequencies. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're splicing, we're dicing. We've got no idea, we're like kids just messing about. No idea about the consequences.
I was listening to Cod Lewis last night, and he said, we've already changed, because we've already made so many interesting decisions and taken a different direction because we're already seeing the causality of it now from the future.
Oh boy. So hang on now. No. I've been saying for a good time, is there an event out there that sent the ripples back?
Yes.
Yep. Retro
That's
causality.
that's what I'm saying. And I mean, and I heard him say that last night, like, oh my God, that is really interesting.
Oh, I need
It's
to
like,
listen.
yeah,
I need to listen to Clyde. I need to get that show. Big time.
that was last night's show.
Yeah.
So, oh God, what was the subject? Oh God, I don't remember. Because I listen to him every single night, so they all sort of, he talks a lot about the same things, but he's mostly talking about the fact that he's worried. Oh, I know what he was talking about. He was talking about history, and history being erased, which we were just discussing. Yeah. But then he was talking about the World's Fair and how they built all those buildings, and they had all these amazing World Fairs, and then they just tore them all down. And then we had the train of kids that were all orphans. And that came from the quantum businessman.
Oh.
It's like, so who are these orphan kids?
Oh.
And his postulate was this came from a different, this came from the people in the future who were trying to save themselves, and they brought all their babies back to this timeline so that they could keep their babies.
I'm making noises, not because usually I make noises because we've or somebody or the info that we're doing on a show, any show, might slip towards the kind of LARP planned. But the reason I'm making the noises today is because totally unbeknown to Nanogirl, Jimmy Jeans is coming on the show tomorrow night, and we got Don Wiskin in hour number 1. But in hour number 2, Jimmy's gonna be talking about big, massive, giant doors on buildings that seem out of place. He's going to be talking about the kind of things that start to tie in with, I would imagine,
Right.
Tartaria and lost portions of history. And Nanogirl doesn't know any of this. You see, last night I told the audience I was so excited because we're on the week of a fine set of shows. And now you see it all coming together, that golden thread, stitching it all together. So we'll come back on the other side. We'll get one more segment with Nanogirl. And then we will hand off to the next host right here on the network. Now, I'm just looking at the clock. There we go. We'll be back in 3 short minutes, folks. Don't go
All right.
anywhere. Don't go anywhere.